Hi, this is pharmacist Curtis Alexander. In this video, we're going to be looking at a medication called Levothyroxine. This is part of the 101 series where I'll take a 35,000 foot overview of the medication, talk about some of the basic stuffs, and at the end of the video, I'll give you what I feel should be the big takeaways from the medication that should be important to you and your doctor. Before we get going, give me a thumbs up if the video was helpful. Also remember to subscribe if you want to see more videos on medications and supplements in plain language from a pharmacist. So hopping right into it, as far as the mechanism of action, what levothyroxine is synthetic T4, and T4 in your body is converted to T3, and T3 is the active form of thyroid in our bodies. It then goes out and exerts the effects that we normally associate with a healthy thyroid, and we'll kind of talk about that in a second. Now, as far as the dosing, you're going to find that levothyroxine, the absorption of it is really erratic, particularly if you give it with food. So a way to stabilize the dosing is to give it on an empty stomach. So we try to give it in the morning because obviously you've been sleeping through the night, you're waking up, your stomach's empty. We get better results dosing it that way. The one thing I want to point out is if you're somebody who's overweight, you want to be very careful about your dosing. A lot of medications, and docs will do this with levothyroxine, is they will dose it based off your weight. So if a 100-pound person got 100 micrograms, they'll give a 200-pound person 200 micrograms. But what they don't take into account sometimes is lean body mass. We want to dose levothyroxine off lean body mass. What that means is if you're obese, you run a higher risk of taking too high of a dose because it's not being based, the dosing isn't based off lean body mass, it's being based off total body weight, which is not what we want. So keep that in mind when the doctor prescribes it, or if you're experiencing side effects, which we'll get to in a second, and you feel your dose might be too high, that could be part of it. People will ask how long it takes before they're going to notice a difference. I always encourage people it should be 6 weeks. Some doctors will say come back, get labs 3 to 6 weeks. Labs don't necessarily equate with how you feel. So I like to tell folks, give it 6 weeks. Again, you're going to get different opinions on this. It's just what I feel, what I've had better results with. I don't like giving a medication to chase labs, to chase a TSH, a thyroid stimulating hormone. I like to base it off how are you feeling. And for that to happen, it's usually a 6-week mark. Now, as far as side effects, generally speaking, it's a safe drug, it's well tolerated. But if side effects occur, they tend to be, again, going back to the obese person, it could be signs of the dose of levothyroxine being too high. And when that happens, we get the side effects from essentially an overactive thyroid, where we can get anxiety, we can get tremors, we can have trouble sleeping because our thyroid levels are now too high. Now, what about weight loss? Because sometimes I get questions from people that, well, will this help me lose weight? Keep this in mind. They've given overweight people who have normal thyroids levothyroxine to see if it would help them lose weight, and it did not help them lose weight. So it's really not a good drug. Now, can you lose weight if you are given this and your thyroid's not dialed in? Yes, of course. That's part of the reason why people have gained weight is because of their thyroid. But it should not be thought of as weight loss medication, should not be used in that way. The other problem that it has is it's not good with some of the other medications that we normally see with weight loss protocols. So it doesn't work very well that way, and it doesn't work with other medications well that way. So my big takeaways with levothyroxine, it's an extremely popular medication. A lot of people have low thyroids. Now the problem is the dosing can get a little tricky. So again, remember, don't base it just off your weight. Base it off lean body mass. So if you're obese, you want to go more towards the lower end of your dosing scale. Make sure to talk to your doctor about that. And the other thing I would point out, I actually have Hashimoto's thyroiditis, or that's what I was diagnosed with. And, I don't have a lot of the signs and symptoms, But one of the things I discovered is that there's triggers in our lives, and probably in yours, where it can interfere with your thyroid, things that you don't realize. One example is beans. Beans can be tough on the thyroid. Low carb diets. When you go extremely low carb for a long time, it can become hard on the thyroid. It was on mine. I had to get away from it. I feel better now that I've reintroduced some carbs in. So those are some of the big takeaways I'd like you to keep in mind. As always, if you've used levothyroxine before, I'd love to hear in the comments what you thought of it, your experience or the experience of the person that you knew who was taking it. So I appreciate you listening and watching, and until the next video, thank you very much.